Welcome to Momtroversial, the podcast that dives headfirst into the beautiful chaos of motherhood and dishes on the stuff we wish we would have known and nobody tells you. This is your tribe for informed consent and unfiltered real talk. I'm Leah, the scrunchy nurse riding the Hot Mess Express. I'm your girl's girl, here to remind you that it's fine, we're fine, and everything's fine.
I'm Alyssa, a crunchy mom who's all about organic living. I'm your organized, opinionated, and your designated wing woman in any parenting bar fight.
And I'm Tori, your ride or die chaos coordinator who will absolutely hold your secrets and your baby.
And today we are diving into the world of sleep. Coming off of our screens episode last week, one of the things we were talking about is how sleep is so important. And the reason why a lot of us do what we do with screens in our homes is because of the way it interferes with sleep. So we figured now would be a great time to just talk about all of the things that we've done and learned to hopefully help you as you are on your mom journey. So one thing we do want to preface with is we are just everyday moms. We've done our own research and our own learning, and this is what has specifically worked with us and what is our personal preferences when it comes to bedtime routines and sleep. So to get started, I would love for us to just share one story about our own bedtime struggles or the own way that we have struggled with sleep when it comes to our kids. I will start with Tori.
So I'd say my real struggles didn't really come until I had my third child. And I was very regimented and very scheduled with my first two. And I had a couple little regressions, but Johnny had nothing. He was just like textbook. I mean, I'm just gonna come out and say it. He was perfect. He really was. He is. He's
Love
perfect
that.
still. But yeah, when we had Charlie, our third, it just, I don't know, all the schedules and everything went out the window because we were so good with two that like adding a third just like completely disrupted the flow. And it took me nearly a year to get us on like a legitimate schedule. My big kids still had like their schedule, but like for the whole flow of everybody, it wasn't a thing. So I would say I don't know. It's been rough. But it was also, he was my different kid. He's been my different kid for everything. He didn't walk until he's 16 months. He didn't, he's still breastfed at, 17 months. My other two weren't. I don't know. Just everything about him is different. He slept in my room till he was almost one. So it's just, I don't know. But yeah, that third kid energy absolutely threw a wrench in everything.
What about you, Alyssa? What is the way that you have struggled with bedtime with your girls or sleep in general?
Ugh, hate me. Not really a lot. So I'm also like very scheduled. Like I literally couldn't care less if we miss out on something. We're making it back in time for naps. But there have been like a few little things, like when KK was a baby, she was in our room longer than I preferred. Totally worth it because my amazing sister-in-law was staying with us in Korea. She was with us for like 5 months. But I kicked Reagan out of our room at 6 weeks. And I totally would have done that maybe earlier with KK. But we just literally did not have the room to kick her out too. And I didn't want her sharing a room with Reagan until she was sleeping through the night. So that was kind of difficult because she could sleep through the night, and she did starting around 11, 12 weeks, but it wasn't consistent because like, one of us would get up, one of us would like, turn over in bed. I ended up like shoving her in our bathroom because our bathroom was pretty big, but I like shoved her against the closets in our bathroom in her little slumber pod because that was as far away as I could get her, literally. But like I feel like her sleep issues were not her fault, and she still slept through the night. It was probably just 50-50. She might wake up once type thing. But yeah, they've been great. Worms was a struggle. They didn't sleep through the night when they had worms, but whatever.
Man, you guys really make me feel like I am the Hot Mess Express because I don't think either of my kids have been perfect with sleep. And it's funny because I tried so freaking hard with Declan when he was little, and I've had the most issues with him. And then Ella, I've just been like, I've been way more go with the flow with her, and she has been way better of a sleeper than Declan ever was without even trying. My biggest struggle with him, and I don't know if I've mentioned it on here, if it's just we've talked about it a lot in our conversations. My biggest freaking sleep struggle with Declan, and to all my boy moms out there, hang on to the freaking sleep sack as long as you can hang on to the sleep sack. Hang on to the one piece jammies as long as you can hang on to them. Because my biggest struggle with Declan was dropping the sleep sack too soon, having him in two-piece pajamas, and him discovering himself. And then waking up in the middle of the night because he has peed out of his diaper because homie broke the seal by exploring his manhood. And we have done all the things. And now he doesn't do it all the time because I literally have reversed his footy pajamas and cut the feet off of them. But even then, if he's committed, homie can hike up the leg to get access to what he wants to get access to. That this is not going to be a fully solved problem until we get him potty trained through the night. But that's been our biggest struggle that nobody warned me about. And I thought I was losing my ever-loving mind when I kept waking up and he was wet, or he kept waking up wet. I was like, what is going on? Are you okay? Like, I couldn't figure it out. And then one day he fell asleep in the back of the car, and I figured it out because when I looked in the mirror, his hand was down his pants. And he woke up wet, and I was like, that's what it is.
Gosh, that's so stressful.
Boys are another beast. If you get there, Alyssa, I'm telling you, it's another beast. Hang on to the sleep sack, because I think I dropped it too early. Like, I think we should have kept it a little bit longer. We should have kept the one-piece pajamas a little bit longer than we did. Ugh, I don't know. But that's been one of our biggest issues. Why do we care so much about sleep? Because I know Alyssa and Tori, I know you try to be, but with Charlie just being the third, like, homie just has to be the world's best ride along. But I know we all care about routines and sleep. I'm the same way as you, where like I will say no to stuff all day long if you're interfering with a nap. Why, for you personally, is sleep so important for your kid?
Honestly, it's twofold, and it's not just for them, it's for me too. Because they need sleep. Scientifically, they need sleep. Okay. Whether they're sleeping in bed with you or they're wherever they're sleeping, however they're sleeping, kids need sleep. They need a lot of sleep. So like, it's just a well-being thing for me. Like, my kid needs sleep. I'm going to make sure my kid gets sleep. But also it's for me. I need sleep, and I need like time to either get stuff done or sleep during the day. So that's a big thing for me. Like, it's for both of us. We're both nicer, happier, more fun people. We're all, I guess, there's three of us, when we've got sleep. So
I think something that I didn't realize when we had Declan was everybody talks about, like, everybody thinks that their kid has colic. Everybody thinks that their kid is colicky. Everybody thinks that there's like the witching hour is what everyone told me when we had Declan and he was a baby, that they get fussy around this time every day, or they cry a lot. Oh, it's just colicky or whatever. And then as he got older and I did research, one of the things I learned was, no, it's not that your baby is just colicky. Given I'm not a doctor, some babies may truly have it. No, it's not just the witching hour. It's the fact that a lot of times we don't realize how much sleep our children need, especially as babies, and they're overtired and overstimulated. And the signs and symptoms of that is the same as the colic, or that witching hour. And it's really just that they're tired, and we just need to know how to help them calm down in that overstimulated environment. And so for me, with Ella, the signs and the differences, it had made a difference for my own sanity, because arrested baby equates to arrested mom. And then everybody is happier when everybody's rested. You know, like we get cranky as adults when we're tired. Kids don't have the reasoning and the inhibition control of a developed frontal cortex. So obviously they turn into monsters when they're tired, you know?
Like same, and I
Yeah.
do have one, so.
Oh,
Do you have
man.
anything to add, Tori?
I think, you know, from a developmental standpoint, like kids can't properly develop their cognitive, motor, social, emotional skills without sleep. So, I mean, is it like, you know, in general, it's for their well-being, but I think more nitty-gritty, it's for their actual development. It's how their brain, like, you know, because, you know, during sleep, your brain kind of like dumps all the bad things and like kind of resets and like renews your cells and all that kind of stuff in your body. And kids, because they're so rapidly growing, like they need that so much more to actually learn things. So I think for me, it's like a developmental thing. Like it's like necessary for development. Like, and when you think of it from like the scientific standpoint, it just makes sense. But I think also I agree with Alyssa, like, I'm going to call myself out right now for saying like a million times, stop it right now. I agree with Alyssa. I think everybody's happier when there's predictability, when they know when to expect, you know, a nap or when to expect a snack or whatever it is. To know the predictability just, I think, helps everyone. And then you can plan around predictability. You can make so much more happen, and kids are so much more comfortable when they can predict what's going to happen. They feel safer, they act better. Like it's just awesome. And to piggyback off of something Leah said, I think my whole life changed when I discovered wake windows.
Oh yeah.
I was like, when I was a first-time mom with Hannah, I just thought I was going to lose my mind. I was like, what is happening? This girl is just crying all the time. She doesn't stay asleep. And once I discovered the wake windows, my mind was blown, and like most of our problems went away. Because she was, you know, an overtired child sleeps less than they should, which seems so counterintuitive, but that's the science brass tacks of it is, you know, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, my kid doesn't sleep as long as they should, or they're always seem so tired, that maybe they're not getting enough sleep.
Yeah.
Just something to think about.
And on
That's
that note,
so
you have
good.
to be so flexible about it until, I would say, like, there's no real routine until 6 months. It's just all wake windows. So like sometimes they
100%.
might sleep 30 minutes and sometimes they might sleep 2 hours, but you just restart the wake window. It's fine. Like, and then once they're around 6 months is when they kind of get on a more scheduled versus a routine, like 3-2-3 nap schedule.
Yep, I agree with that.
Yep. And pivoting into that, elaborating on wake windows a little bit, because that is something that I don't think I added to like what we were going to talk about, because I forgot, because that's just who I am as a person. I'm all over the place. But I do want to talk about it because like we both said, that it changed my life when I realized that. And so what is a wake window? A wake window refers to the amount of time that your baby is awake between nap time or bedtime. So that means, to just make it standard, it's like the amount of time that is okay for them to be awake before they become overtired or before they need to go to sleep. And as you get older, those wake windows get longer. And so, for example, I went ahead and did a quick Google just to get an average amount, but I know we'll link in the episode some of our favorite resources or a guide we can put together by the time that this is out for you guys to get in the show notes. But an example of like a wake window for a newborn is literally like 30 to 45 minutes. 1 to 3 months old is like an hour. 2 hours on the end of it. Like if you're closer to the 3 months, 3 to 4 months, it's like an hour and 15 minutes to 2.5. 5 to 7 months, or 5 to 7 months, like 2 to 4. This is just what Dr. Google told me. I personally have used, I just Google taking care of babies and go by her wake windows. But those are examples of the amount of time. And we found with Declan, once I realized that Homie was a newborn being awake for like an hour and a half or 2 hours. And so then he's screaming bloody murder. And I couldn't figure out why he was screaming bloody murder. And then once I realized that, I'm like, oh my freaking gosh, that kid's just so freaking tired. And we were trying to do all these things that everybody tells us to do to calm him down, but it was not calming to him at all. So, Alyssa, what are your thoughts?
I would just say, like, I would second taking care of babies. Those wake windows from Google sounded a little not quite there to me. But the taking care of babies is so amazing. You literally, my kid is this old. I like this kind of schedule. Like, she'll give you a sample schedule. She'll give you the routine. She'll give you the wake window. I personally found, so I use Little Z's Sleep to sleep train my kids. She sold to Hatch, which plug for Hatch because we love our Hatch sound machine. But it's not,
Same.
as far as I can tell, it's not live on Hatch yet. And so then I kind of pivoted to taking care of babies. Or I guess I will pivot to taking care of babies, although I still have all my Little Z's. But my point is, taking care of babies I found was wake windows on the longer end as well, versus Little Z's was on the shorter end. So for Reagan is all about her sleep. Even at 3, she still takes a good nap. And when she doesn't, she will do quiet time because it's good for everyone. But so Reagan used the shorter wake windows. With KK, I ended up using taking care of babies with just her wake windows a little more. It's essentially the same program. But specifically, I used taking care of babies wake windows a little more because KK seemed to need we're talking about like 15 minutes. It's not like, an hour versus 2 hours. But it really, like, when I pivoted to that, KK started thriving. So it really is, while in Little Z's, Becca, she says something, your baby is not a unicorn. You might feel like your baby is a unicorn. You might feel your baby is the only baby that can never sleep train, that kind of thing. But your baby is not a unicorn. If you just have like a, total average, give or take, like, it's just not a unicorn. But they do need like subtle adjustments. What works for one baby doesn't always work for another baby. It's not like a math formula. It's a guide that you follow the like framework of, but you might need to adjust, the paint colors, that kind of thing.
Love that. What are your thoughts on that, Tori?
So I was just going to add in something that really helped me when I had Hannah was I actually used the Huckleberry app. It's another sleep thing. I don't know how relevant it is now, but way back then when the dinosaurs were roaming, I'm just kidding. Hannah's only 6. But they had a sleep, like a wake window timer in there. So you could actually track it via the app. So as soon as she woke up, I could like start it. And then when she, recognizing the signs of a tired kid is so helpful.
Eyebrows.
Being able to just so many different little things to be able to call that out and be like, ooh, that kid's tired. They need to get down for a nap, and catch it before it gets to the, the meltdowns and the, all the not great overtired behaviors. That is just the sweet spot. So if you can catch it in the sweet spot, that's just amazing. But I would time the wake windows inside of the app, and then the app became like kind of predictable for you. It'd be like, oh, this is Hannah's ideal wake windows. Like she needs 2.5 to 3 a day, or however many it was at the time. And that I found so helpful, especially as a first time mom who didn't really know what I was doing. And I was just trying to follow these things. It took the guesswork out of it. It took like the, because you're so tired. you know, your whole life has just changed. And, you know, I know even as a third time mom, that would have been really helpful for me if I had never dealt with the wake windows and stuff before, to use the timer to just take all of the mental aspect out of it. So I love that. And I'm sure, I know there's another one called Tally. Didn't you tell me about that, Alyssa? The Tally
Yeah,
app?
we used that one, loved it, but it didn't time it for me. I just would click when she woke up and when she went down, and it would tell me how long it had been.
Okay, it
But I
wasn't like a real
love
time
I
timer.
love
Yeah.
the idea of the timer. That is cool.
It was game changing. Now you could adjust it, like if you forgot to stop it or something, you could totally go back and edit it or whatever. But it was life-giving, and it really changed our life literally, because we were just all happier and more scheduled.
Okay, but I
Yeah,
have to
and one
say,
thing.
sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. I think you were gonna say the same thing. Were you gonna talk about signs of tired? Because I have them pulled up right here that I was gonna read off for the listeners of signs of a tired baby
I was actually
or a
gonna
tired kid.
talk about a pet peeve of mine that Tori hit on.
Oh, hit
When
it.
people say like, "Oh, but your kid's fine. They're not tired," you know? Like, no, they're fine because their bodies trust that I'm gonna get them down to sleep, okay? So I'm gonna leave. Okay, thank you. But that just kills me when people are like, "But they're not tired. They're fine." Like, they're happy right now.
Oh, like when they try to stop you from
Yeah.
going to nap time or something?
Yeah, like
Ugh.
why, or bedtime, like why are we waiting for a meltdown? Why are we waiting to have to like you know, punish, consequences, whatever word you want to use, deal with unhappiness? Why are we waiting for that to say, "Oh, I wonder if they're tired"? Ugh, kills me.
Well, and
Anyways,
whose business is it anyways, except yours? I don't know. That's
I
just
could say
my
someone's,
about
but
most things, like, cut out.
yeah,
If I want to put my
amen.
kid down at 7 o'clock, I will.
Yeah. If this is when I said I'm leaving, this is
So,
when I'm leaving. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Amen. 100%.
four signs of a tired little that Tori was touching on. I wanted to just read some out. Um, signs of I'm tired. This is particular in babies, but like once you realize it and you see it in your child as they grow, you will be able to see it in your child as they get older. So for a newborn, it's the stare. And oh my gosh, this was freaking Declan's when he was a baby. And we just thought it was so cute. Look at him. He's just studying whatever. But no, it was the stare where they just are blank, fixated, staring away. There's nothing up there. It may be up at the light, it may be at the wall, and just fixated on something. That's a sign of I am tired. Flushed brows, when their eyebrows get red, is a sign that they're tired. If they don't want to make eye contact with you or look at you, that if you're trying to interact and they keep looking away from you, that's a sign that they're tired. And by looking at your face or somebody else's face, it's stimulating to them, and they're tired. They don't want that stimulation right now. So those are 3 signs of like, I'm just tired. Signs that I'm ready for a nap, so that we're on stage 2. There's 3 stages total. I'm tired, I'm ready for a nap, and I'm overtired. I'm ready for a nap is when they start getting fussy, when you start seeing those big yawns. These are the ones that we usually can all catch on to. And when they start rubbing their eyes, because get their eyes burn just like ours do when we get really tired. And then the I am overtired. So when they're overtired, you're going to have a harder time putting them down. You are going to have to fight it a little bit. We're going to have to create an environment that will help soothe them and calm them down. Overtired is the tantrums. That's like the frantic crying, pushing away from you, arching their back. This was Declan so many freaking times when he was a baby, and everybody just told us like, "Oh, it's just colicky, like he's just fussy, like it's fine." And I'm like, "This doesn't feel fine to me." And everybody, you know how everybody, I don't know if this was just me, people all kept telling us, "Just talk to your baby. Just sing to your baby. Just dance with your baby." Like that calms them down. And I was new mom. I hadn't done any research at this point, so I didn't know. So I was doing all those things, and I was like, I feel like it's making it worse. When really a way to calm them down is make them feel secure, especially when they're newborns, like they were in your belly. baby wearing all day long. I wore
Mm.
the snot out of Ella. And when she started having those signs that she was tired, I didn't necessarily, if we were out and about, have to worry about her getting overtired if I just had her on me, because that is comfort for her. That is what we're used to. So we're big advocates of the swaddle. I'm a big advocate of swaddling,
Wow.
especially when they're little. And then a dark room instead of bright lights. They're in your belly for 9 months. It's not very bright in there, so they're used to darkness. Therefore, taking them somewhere where there's a lot of lights and they're tired, no wonder they can't calm down, which is also another reason, which I know we'll do an episode one day talking about baby wearing, but why I'm so pro baby wearing, because a lot of times you're turning them into you. So you're turning them, if you have to be on the go with them, you're taking them away from the stimulation and putting them into what they know and are comfortable with. And then one thing that I had learned, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this developmentally with what you've learned in school, Tori, was instead of doing the singing, talking to them, it's the white noise. It's the shh. That's why everybody tells you to do that, or you naturally just go to that, because when they're in your belly for 9 months, they're hearing the white noise of your blood vessels, like shooting blood across your body, of your just bodily functions. And then any verbal noise of voices is muffled through your abdominal wall, your uterine wall, through all of those body parts. So that's why singing and talking to them may not necessarily be helpful. It may actually make things worse, at least at first, when they're little, because it's also new to them. So when you're trying to calm them down when they're of that age, then you want to do things that they're used to, versus it changes and adapts as they may get older. What's your input on that, Tori?
So I think a lot of what you're describing to me is like the 4th trimester. And I think this applies strictly to like super young babies. But that was another huge thing for me when I became a mom, that once I learned about the 4th trimester, I was like, oh my gosh, okay, this is like total game changer. We changed our sleep environment, the darkness, the white noise and all that. And it just like these really subtle changes can make these huge differences because of all the biological stuff that you just described. And I think also, what was I was thinking like, oh yeah, like when you're just saying, what you were saying, but yeah, 4th trimester, I think everyone needs to just know about that, because you think, oh, my baby's out, they're like a whole person now. And in a lot of ways they are a whole person, but in other ways they're still half in, half out. There's still that, like, you are their comfort at that point. And hearing your heartbeat, that's why another baby wearing again is like so amazing, because their ear is pressed up right against your heart, and they're like, oh, okay, that's what soothed them to sleep for the last since they developed ears. And it's just, I don't know, it's beautiful, it's amazing. But I don't know what else I was gonna say about that. I had something else. I'll think, if I think of it, I'll
It'll come back to you. So, okay, then let's pivot and let's talk a little bit about our go-to bedtime routines. So, just specifically, what do you do for you and yours to help get them ready for bedtime and or nap time? Because I know Alyssa and I still do that with both. Tori, does Johnny take a nap still, or is it just Charlie who does a nap?
No, so Johnny, he sometimes will nap at school, but I think his teachers kind of have eyes on that. Like if they think he's overtired, they just put him down for a nap, and he will nap. But my only consistent napper is Charlie.
Okay. So then what's your routine? We'll start with you then, since you mainly do bedtime for your older two, but then you do have Charlie. What's your routine for your older two for bedtime? And then what does your routine for Charlie look like?
So for my nap time routine for Charlie is super duper simple. And the one thing I think we're all going to shout out here is consistency. Doesn't matter what you pick, doesn't matter how you do it the same every time.
Amen.
Because the predictability, it's that like it's safety. Predictability equals safety, and safety equals happy kids, period. Like, so for Charlie, I change him, I put him in his sleep sack, I walk him up the stairs, I sing him, turn off the lights, turn on the sound machine, sing him a song, make sure he has his little baby dragon. I put him down, I tell him I love him, and I leave. Period. Like every single time. And I do that pretty much the same at bedtime. It's a little bit more extended at bedtime though. You know, we play a little bit more while I'm getting him ready for bed because I don't change his clothes usually before a nap unless he's like super dirty or something. But you know, we're changing into pajamas, we're like doing lotion, we're doing like extra stuff. So like we'll sing, we'll like laugh or tickle or play or whatever it is. We have a little bit more interaction, but the nighttime stuff is the same. We go in, turn on the sound machine. I usually sing him 2 songs instead of 1 at nighttime just to like get him into that really deep like relaxation. And then I tell him I love him and I leave. And
because it is relaxing when you sing a song. So
yeah.
Actually,
for those of you who are listening who don't know Tori is a singer and is extremely talented and has the most beautiful voice. You don't ever want to karaoke against her.
Amen.
Because it just makes you feel like you sound like a dying cat.
No,
Tori
you don't sound like a dying
angel.
cat. Thank you. But also, I just want to clarify, I am not a singer. I am someone who sings. Okay.
Could
there's
be
a
singer
difference.
if she wants to be, for sure.
You guys are the best. I love you. So that's funny. You totally threw me off with that. So my big kid bedtime. So, you know, unfortunately, it's a little bit different depending on if I'm doing bedtime or if David's doing bedtime. So sometimes we used to do bedtime together. And, you know, this is kind of a not perk of military families is, you know, your spouse isn't always home. And so you can't always rely on them for bedtime. I know David loves to do bedtime. And so it like the more here, I'd say he's really not since he got his new job and a little bit before that, he just hasn't been able to be consistent for bedtime. So our big kids, it's pretty much the same. You know, they get their pajamas on, they brush their teeth, and I will sing them a song. David made up a night song when Hannah was a baby, and we sing that to all the kids. We put it's got their names in it. We change the name depending on who we're singing it to. And so we start bedtime with that, and then usually sing another song. And then David usually tells them stories. I am not a good storyteller, and just because of I'd like to be a better storyteller, but also I'd just rather read a book. Someone's already wrote that story. It's just not my forte. He's a wonderful storyteller, David. He's just so his imagination is just so wild. He finds a way to put some sort of little lesson in it. He brings in something maybe they did that day or I don't know. It's so insanely creative. I could never recreate it. So I don't even try. We were doing community book reading before bedtime for a little while. And we've just totally got off our routine with that. But I don't necessarily, I consider that more of a pre-bedtime routine. Cause once we do everybody's in their beds, in their rooms, that's to me, that's the bedtime routine for them. But, you know, we pray together too. So yeah, to shorten it up, you know, songs, story if dad's around. If not, we just usually talk for a minute, we pray together, and then I leave. And usually I don't have any kids who come down, but Johnny is, I don't know, sometimes he's not ready for bed and he just wants to come out and play for a little bit. But we're working on making him do that in his room, because as much as I'd love for him to go right to sleep, he's also a human being, and I can't if he's all wound up or whatever, I can't really expect him to just be a robot, fall asleep. That's just not it's not legit. So my thing is, if you're in your room and your lights off, but you want to just play with your little miniature dragon or something, whatever you have, and you're making little sounds or whatever, I don't care about that. You'll eventually fall asleep. And the environment's the same. Sound machine. I actually don't black out my big kid rooms anymore. I don't have the actual studies to back this up, but I feel as adult, they're getting into older, their brains are more developed. And so I think having the natural light wake them and put them to sleep is more beneficial for their circadian rhythm. But again, that's just what I believe. And I don't know if that's actually based on science or not. It wasn't for any sort of like, I wasn't like, oh, so convicted about this, I'm going to do this. This was just happenstance. I have one blackout curtain that sticks to the window and Charlie gets it and the other two don't. I'm sorry. I love you both, but you just don't, it hasn't been a problem where they've been waking up and doing all this stuff. So I just kind of let it go and hope for the best with that specifically.
I love that. What do you do for your girls, Alyssa?
We also, like, our routine pretty much hasn't changed since they were really little. We will throw in bath time just as kind of like a bedtime trigger, even if like it's literally just getting in the bathtub and we don't even use soap, because I'm a big advocate of your body doesn't need soap every day. But it's kind of just a part of our routine. And so most days they will take a bath. Sometimes with soap, sometimes not. And Ryan generally does bedtime for the girls and I clean the kitchen. That's just kind of our arrangement because he's usually at work during the day. So this is kind of his time with them. And he hates the dishes and I don't hate the dishes. So, you know.
Love that compromise.
Yeah. I hate bath time. He doesn't. So, but yeah, so he will do, he'll get them in their jammies. They'll sing Jesus Loves Me together. He has lately, where I'm like round 2 through the Bible, he just reads them a Bible story.
Nice.
It's really cute. And do Jesus Loves Me prayers. And we have our hat sound machine. Again, literally the best thing ever. It's on a timer. So we give them, if we feel like they're struggling one day, but we don't necessarily want them to go to sleep earlier. We still want them on their schedule, but they're just struggling with being overstimulated. We'll put them in their room for, we call it sister time. They think it's a reward. It really is for everyone, honestly. But we'll put, instead of having them down by 7:30, we'll have them down by 7, and they have sister time and their light. It's essentially when their hatch light just flows through all the colors. And their light is out, but the hatch light is on. The sound machine isn't quite on yet, but it just gives them time. They don't have anything in their room other than their dollies and their lammies and their bed. So it's just a wind down time kind of for them. And they play, they love it.
I love that.
Yeah. It's actually really nice on all rounds. And then we'll usually come in, one of us will come in again at 7:25, the light will turn red and the sound machine will come on. And they know that means, okay, it's almost time for bed. And then at 7:30, the light goes off. And so usually at 7:30, we'll come back in and tuck them in and say, okay, I'm going to sleep in the night. And usually they are just more calmed down and ready to go by then. We have blackout curtains in their room right now in the house we're staying in, but it, lets in the light on the sides, which is a little bit difficult with summer, and it's light until like 9 p.m. But obviously, like they need to go to bed earlier than that. But they've been adjusting fairly well. I think I honestly will put more effort into blacking out their rooms in Arizona. But maybe not like in Korea. So we were on the 10th floor in Korea and I literally taped contractor black trash bags to the windows because we don't really use our rooms for a whole lot more than sleeping. We're out in the like living room community areas during the day. And we were on the 10th floor. So it's not like, someone's like walking up to our window and being like, why is there trash bags on your window? And it was great. The walls in Korea are like cement. So you have to use like a tension mat or something if you even want blackout curtains. But I just saw my girls just pulling that down all the time. So that was my solution. It was an awesome solution. It was like completely dark in their room. But we don't have that right now because we're staying in a very nice house that does not deserve to have trash bags on its windows. But it's been working okay. It just takes a little bit longer. And I've kind of like what you were saying, Tori, I've just kind of had to adjust a little bit my perspective and be like, listen, if they're in their room, if they're playing quietly, if they're not doing something they shouldn't be doing, then it's fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And for those of you guys who don't know, if you didn't pick up on it, Alyssa's girls share her room.
Yeah.
And so Reagan is 3, Kennedy is almost 2.
Yes.
Or is Reagan 4 now?
No, Reagan's 3.5. KK will be 2 next month. And I actually would love to plug that because I think it has been one of the best things for my girls to share a room. First of all, frees up a room. Second of all, they can have things like sister time. They are kind of each other's, they have their lammies and they have their dollies. Most importantly, their lammies and blankies. But they have each other. They're like each other's
emotional support animals.
Yeah, pretty much. And they have a lot of fun together. In the morning, their light will turn yellow at 7:30, but it doesn't turn green until 7:45, so they're not allowed out of their room, or we won't come get them until 7:45, and they just play together. It's so cute. The light will turn yellow, and usually KK will wake up first. Okay. Way. And or Reagan, is in her frozen era. So it's just, KK, the sky's awake. The sky's awake, KK. So it's like
So
the most
cute.
precious, wonderful thing. And I'm such a big advocate of room sharing. And we will do it as long as, probably as long as they want to within, reason and our ability to, because who knows what houses we'll be living in. So. Love it.
Yeah, I think we're actually about to pull the trigger and put Declan and Ella in the same room as well. Because Declan's 2.5. He'll be 3 in November, and he's been going through some serious separation anxiety at bedtime. And he keeps asking me to feed Sissy. He keeps saying, feed Sissy in Decky room. Feed Sissy in Decky room.
Aww.
Like at bedtime and nap time. Like he wants Ella in the room with him, and he knows that I feed her before I put her down. So I'm actually figuring out logistics, but I think that we're going to put ours in the same room as well. Because first thing in the morning, he asks where Sissy is. He asks if she's awake, and he wants to go get her. And same thing, they're on the same schedule pretty much now anyways. Like she's sleeping through the night and they nap she's 1 nap a day. So they nap at the same time.
Yes.
They go down at the same time. So I think I'll let you know how that goes. I just need to find a desk so we can turn this room into our office or into their room, and then I can have an office space somewhere else.
I'm so excited.
You're the big thing. I know you're the big reason why I've been thinking about it, because you do it with your girls and they just love each other. And I think that with y'all's experiences, they're so close in age that realistically, until they get old enough to where they realize, some of the differences between boys and girls, that they will need their own space. It's okay while they're little. And then who knows, when future kids come around, we can do a shuffle. If we have another girl or we have another boy, and then do a shuffle and allow that to be who shares a room. What do you have to say about that, Tori?
I just wanted to say that, well, for one, my kids have shared a room when they were approximately that age. I think they were a little bit older. Hannah was 3, almost 4, and Johnny was 1.5, 2, age. And part of it was a little bit of a nightmare with Johnny because he had just had newfound freedom. He started climbing out of his crib the night before we moved out of our Germany house. The night before. And I was like, bro, no. But also perfect timing because we're just about to move. But I put him in a toddler bed. And so it was kind of a double whammy with him transitioning to a toddler bed and sharing a room with his sister. So it was a little bit of a rough transition. But actually, in very recent news, they're sharing a room right now. Ooh. They got bunk beds, and they've been begging us for bunk beds for a year.
And we're
just no,
girl.
absolutely not.
Freaking love bunk beds.
such a bad idea, you know, like somebody's gonna get hurt. Like we were just worried about them being hurt, you know. But we actually have some friends who are staying with us right now. They're PCSing out to the States in a few days. And the hotel like was like, sorry, you gotta go. And they're like, well, where are we supposed to go? So I was like, you know what? This was literally an hour before Furniture Warehouse closed on Friday. I went over there. I was like, help me turn these beds into bunk beds. They sent me with the hardware. We put the bunk beds together, moved Charlie into Johnny's room, and the kids couldn't be happier. I don't know how permanent this is. I think we're doing a watch and wait, seeing how this goes. But they're jazzed. It was so cute tonight. Johnny from the bottom bunk, he's like, I love you, Hannah. And Hannah like pops her head down to him. She's like, I love you, Johnny. It was just so cute. I was like, oh my gosh, like stop right now. So I'm hoping that it's gonna work out because they're 22 months apart. So, you know, they're either just absolute besties or at each other's throats. There's no in between. So but I am a huge advocate of the room sharing too. I think it's, you know, really bonding, you know, because they can do their little cahoots stuff, you know, from their bunk bed. And I don't know. I'm a huge fan also. So I can't wait to see how Declan and Ella work that out because I just think they're already so freaking cute together and love each other so much. I think it's going to go really well.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. I think I've told Travis I'm pretty much sold on it. I just need to get us a desk so I can pivot this, like our computer setup, to one of the other rooms because we have a built-in desk in this room. So I think once I get that, then I can pull the trigger and send it. So I'll let you guys know in a couple weeks how that goes. Alyssa, I know you have some thoughts you want to share, but I wanted to real quick to share, add on to like what our bedtime routine is and then jump in to sleep training. So let me do our bedtime routine and then I'll hit your thoughts because I know you got to go soon. But really, the main difference, our bedtime mirrors yours a lot, where we just do bath. We'll do bath time, whether it be like just 5 minutes, you know, you're getting in the bath just as like hey, it's bedtime. But we do bedtime together because it's something Travis is passionate about, is he wants to do bedtime routine as a family when he's home. So as much as I would love to clean the kitchen and let him do bedtime, he really wants me to be there. And it like actually kind of kills me a little bit, but it's fine because he wants family time. And so we do it together and then we'll go into Declan's room. I'll change Ella. Travis will dress Declan. We'll go into Declan's room. We'll read a Bible story. We're doing that too. So we're on our second way through this kid's Bible we got where it's like illustrated Bible stories. And then we'll read another book or story of Declan's choice. One thing that we do that I love, that Sarah Fonville, if you're listening to this, she inspired me because I saw her doing it with her girls, is we do affirmations before bed every single night. And we started it when Declan was about a year old, and Ella, we've done it since she was born. And we go through the affirmations. It is, I am smart, I am strong, I am able, I am worthy, I am wonderfully made, I am loved by God. Daddy loves me, mommy loves me, sissy loves me, and Jesus loves me. And then we'll pray. And the reason why I want to shout this out is because I realized that this was helpful. And I realized that this was doing something even at such a young age when Declan got in his accident and we were in the EMS, like with the horror show that was, driving to the hospital. And I was saying that over him. He was repeating it to me. Like he was able to repeat, I am smart, I am strong, I am able, I am worthy. And he was going through the whole thing with me, like on that ambulance ride and even when we were in the hospital. And I think he is such a trooper, and part of him having been such a trooper in that is I really do believe that starting at a young age, starting that positive self-talk and the affirming of your child is so important. And doing it before bed, it's one of the last conscious thoughts that they have before they go into that rest and rejuvenation stage for
this needs to
for
be
their
real.
brain.
Yes, I love that.
And then type it out and send it to me, please.
Yeah, building strong children. So my friend Sarah did it with her daughter Jojo, and they stayed at her house, and I saw her doing it. I was like, oh my gosh, stop! I'm gonna cry. And so that's something I want to plug. if you want to add something to your bedtime routine, I think that that's powerful and, you know, just so helpful in building strong, confident children. So something else we want to talk about and hit on before we have to jet is sleep training, because I know we have different thoughts about sleep training. So I would love for us to talk about what you did to help get your child or children to sleep, thoughts on sleep training, what type of sleep training, yay or nay. And I want to start with Alyssa on what you did for your girls and your thoughts on sleep training.
So I have huge thoughts on sleep training. Sleep training is my favorite thing in the whole entire world. So I feel like, I want to start with, I feel like people think that either you have to let your kids sleep in your bed with you until they're 10 years old, or they just want to get out, or you have to like abandon them in the middle of the night or at the beginning of the night and just not even like acknowledge or look in on them or check on them or anything until the morning. Like with everything else that people, I feel like these days just do not get, like there's a middle ground, and it's a great middle ground. So we used, like I said, Little Z's sleep kind of combined with taking care of babies. I would recommend either of them. They're both amazing. And they use, I guess you could call it like an adaptive version of the Ferber method. And it essentially, you're teaching your baby to sleep. Sleep training is teaching your baby to sleep, because why would your baby know how to really do that and regulate themselves like that? It just, you know, if we're like telling our baby when they need to eat and, you know, saying you can't play with these toys because this isn't safe, you could choke on it. The same thing applies to sleep. Why would we expect them to just know, just because they can sleep since they were an infant? Why would we expect them to know exactly how they need to sleep, and when they need to sleep and all that kind of thing? So highly recommend. The courses are some of the best money you'll ever spend, but you buy them and you keep them. So, you know, you use it for your first baby, your second baby, your third baby. I used it just as much for Kennedy as I did for Reagan. And I just rewatched all the videos and relearned things. I was like, oh my God, I forgot about this. Something I love about them is that they meet you where you're at. You know, if you're not ready to give up a middle of the night feed, that's okay. They can work that in for you. It's just like, you know, you just listen more closely to a certain part of the course, that kind of thing. If you don't want to do feeds at night, if you feel like your baby doesn't need that anymore, that's okay. They'll work that in for you. If you are not quite ready to just leave the room yet, that's okay. It's worked in there. But something they do say is, and I've seen this with a lot of my friends that have been like, I want to sleep train. I'm like, okay, here's all the information. You have to be committed. You have to be committed to see it through. And like, you know, getting off screens, it is a couple weeks of hard. It's not, you're not going to see a magical difference in 24 hours. You're just not. You have to be committed to it. And I think a lot of people that say, oh, well, sleep training didn't work for me. It's because there wasn't enough of a commitment to that routine and schedule, because it is maybe changing your life a lot to get into that routine and schedule. And it's not something, you don't have to be like, okay, it is, you know, 12:01. So I need to start this to be done in 3 minutes to be done by this time, so they're in sleep by 12:15. That's not your forever. Once you have a sleep trained kid, you have a flexible kid. Not to say that you can just do whatever you want now, but if they go down 15 minutes later, 15 minutes early, because you need to get them up at different, you know, they are flexible, you know, even a half an hour earlier. Like my girls go to bed anytime between 12 and honestly 1 now, because I think they're just not needing quite as long of a nap. And it's fine either way. Usually if we're getting closer to 1, we're getting a little more not happy. But it, as weird as it sounds, the routine of sleep training is freedom, because there's something that you can count on. And more importantly, there's something that your kid can count on. So I would just hugely advocate for that. Taking Care of Babies has a newborn course that you can watch before you have your baby, and that will help set you up for success for once that baby comes. They're all about, do you need a contact nap? Okay, great, no worries. I'm not positive about Taking Care of Babies, but little Z's, Becca was always like, if you can do one bassinet nap a day, you're doing great. One bassinet, one
Kara
nap,
says the
whatever.
same thing.
Yeah. Just to ensure that they're learning that they are able to sleep in their crib by themselves, for lack of a better word. But yeah, there's stages. You're not just closing the door the very first night and saying, okay, see you in the morning. Like, don't care. There's check-ins, there's pop-ins, there's, pick up, put down. And you learn your baby. Like Reagan, if I popped in and just gave her a little pat and then put her back down, she was fine. KK made it so much worse if I did that. So I needed to give KK a little more time than I gave Reagan. And again, it's just the little things that you make a difference with.
Yeah, love that. I also did Kara. For us, we did. Okay, I also did Kara. We did Taking Care of Babies as well. And we were flexible. So with Declan, I did Taking Care of Babies pretty religiously. I was like a Nazi. I was a Nazi about having to go down at the end of his wake window, him having to sleep this long. I was not as flexible as I was with Ella, but we did Taking Care of Babies as well. And we have used her modified Ferber method for regressions that we've had with life events. So the Ferber method is, instead of just like crying it out, you don't just let them cry. You do we do pop-ins, but at certain intervals. And we modify it to do what we're comfortable with. So for Declan, at first, like, we would pop in every 5 minutes until he fell asleep. And then now he's old enough that if he is having a rough one, which he has had this like resurgence in separation anxiety recently, so we have been struggling with sleep a little bit. What we do is we'll pop in at 5 minutes, and then we'll pop in 10 minutes later, and then I'll go in 15 minutes after that. If he's still awake at that point, usually he only needs 1 or 2. But that way, for me, I don't feel like I'm having to just let you cry. I am there. You know that I'm there. You know that if you need me, mommy will show up for you. But it's also time to go to sleep. So he is at this stage where he is trying to test his boundaries and delay bedtime. So we did not do a bath tonight. And this is an example. I asked him if he wanted to go ahead and go take a bath. And he said he didn't want to take a bath tonight. So I said, just because of the way our night flowed, I said, okay, that's fine. But we still did the rest of our regular bedtime routine. But when I told him it was time to go to bed, homie said, I want to take a bath. When I told him it was time to go to bed. And when we put him in the bed, he started crying, saying he wants to take a bath, to try to like delay that. And he's been starting to do things like that where I can tell he's being intentional, and I don't think he's being malicious, but he's just trying to push. And so instead of allowing that boundary to be pushed, I'm holding that boundary, but I'm still going in and letting you know that I am here for you should you truly need something. And so I know the difference in him, but we've done sleep training with both of our kids. We did it with Taking Care of Babies. I was a Nazi with Declan, but he's always been my harder one. Ella, I took some of what I learned from her and implemented it, specifically with knowing wake windows, specifically with bedtime routines, and specifically with initial falling asleeps, doing pop-ins. However, I never truly did a sleep training for Ella throughout the night. She just did that on her own. I did a dream feed, and if she would wake up at night with her, I would go in there. Almost regardless. And don't get me wrong, there were a couple of times when it was rough, but now she'll be a year old, which is insane, on Saturday, on the 16th. And she's sleeping through the night on her own. So yeah, so we did that with a grain of salt, but she was in our room for 5 months. Declan was in our room for 4 months. So with my kids, I think I was a little bit more lax than Alyssa is on it. I enjoyed my kids being in my room that long, especially like when it was Ella, because it felt like with her being my second child, that was me getting time with her. That was us getting more one-on-one time with her that she doesn't really get because she's the second child the way Declan got it. So for me, it was like sentimental. And I think that's also why I didn't drop feeds or try to train her throughout the night. Because as much as I hated trudging up the stairs in our house, like to go get her in the middle of the night, still in my heart and in the back of my mind, this is me getting that one-on-one time. It's the extra just mommy, Ella, you're not having to fight for attention snuggles. So, but I would love to hear Tori's perspective on it because I know that you have done things a little bit differently with your kids. And I also know with your learning, everything for me with you goes back to what you've learned with like all of your schooling and stuff too, that I'm just so fascinated by.
I mean, truthfully about sleep specifically, like I didn't get a lot of extra training about that. I love your confidence in me, but
it's kind of sad.
I mean, other than sleep being really important for development, I mean, that's really the bottom line as far as sleep goes. I know a lot of other things, but just not about sleep. Other than what I've learned on my own, I think, with Hannah, I definitely learned as I went. We did kind of a modified Ferber with her. And I hated it. I'm going to be honest. I hated every second of that. Every minute she cried, I felt like I was dying inside, and it just didn't feel, I'm going to be honest, it didn't feel right to me to do it. And I did it anyways because I thought it was the right thing to do. And David was like, you just got to let her do it. Blah, blah, blah. Total husband talk, like no shade to him, but like, you didn't know how I felt. Okay. I didn't feel good about it. Like, and I don't like when I look back on moments now, do I fully regret this? No. But when I look back on moments in my motherhood journey where I felt that way, like where I've kind of regretted it or I didn't feel good about it in the moment, I typically have regretted doing those things. I think this is the one exception where I was like, okay, this actually did give us some good came out of it. But I can think of a couple other things in my motherhood journey that I'm not going to talk about right now, but that I didn't feel good in the moment and I regret it now to this day. So I didn't love it. With Johnny, I think I took everything that I learned with Hannah and I implemented it from the day I brought him home from the hospital. I would do like drowsy, but not fully asleep. We did Halo swaddle sack was my absolute best friend. And I've done that with all 3 of my kids. It's been a big, big thing, the swaddle sack. And also continuing with a sleep sack. I think, we don't do blankets. Blankets freak me out. And so, that gives them that like little bit of comfort. And so I've done sleep sacks Charlie's still in a sleep sack. And I think I took Johnny out of a sleep sack once he started climbing out of his crib. So pretty much if my kids are in a crib, they're getting a sleep sack. But I think I was just much more confident with Johnny. And I think I just already knew like what I knew the signs. He wasn't overtired. He was already following the wake window. So we just didn't have like the regressions and the issues and that I had with Hannah. Now she wasn't like horrid. She had a really, really tough 4-month sleep regression. And that was what led me to do the modified Ferber. And I did pretty much exactly what you guys like talked about, put her down. After 5 minutes, I would go in, pick her up, hold her until she calmed down and put her back down. And mine was like a full contact pickup because my thing was like, I'm gonna like console you enough to where you're not like flipping out and then I'm going to put you back. And I don't know what about it that I just absolutely hated. It just felt gut-wrenching to me personally. I still continue. It only took like 5 days and she was fine after that. I know some kids it takes a little bit longer, but we stayed consistent like Alyssa was talking about. And I think, I mean, almost anything with kids, consistency and routine are key. Consistency. Like everyone thrives off of that big time. I will say that, so with Johnny, I'm going to probably a little bit of luck thrown in there, some temperament, which you cannot control. Every kid is born with a different temperament. That's something I definitely learned in my schooling. And yeah, that was just one thing that he loved his sleep. I moved him out of my room at 3 months, and the only reason was because I could only fit a mini crib in my room, and he was so tall that he kept getting his foot stuck in the side, and he was waking himself up at night. And so, I moved him to his own room, and that solved that. That was, like, the only thing with him. But, Charlie, I didn't pull out of my room until, he was just shy of a year. And even after I moved him out, he was waking up multiple times a night to nurse. And I think that was more of just like he wanted to. He'd wake up, smell it, like, yeah, it sounds good. Like, let's do that. And so I think the proximity for him, because I mean, he was literally like 6 feet, 5 feet from me in his crib. And so he would just like do a little smell test of the air and be like, yeah, I want my mom. Yeah. I co-slept with him so much with Charlie. I know it's so taboo. Don't get after me, but we
I slept with
like,
Ella too. Let me jump on the train. If people are gonna come at you, don't come at me. We did lots of co-sleeping her first couple months of life too.
well, and I was very anti co-sleep for my first two. I co-slept with Hannah for like during her 4-month regression. I just like had to. David was gone at school, and so it was me, myself, and I had to rely on. And so we co-slept because that was literally our survival. And with Charlie, it was kind of the same thing. David was here, but it was like, because I breastfed and I was pumping and everything, it was just, again, it was me, myself, and I. And so I would fall asleep with him. And after I fell asleep holding him several times, I realized I was like, I just need to find a way to safely do this. And so I did. And it worked. So I got so much more sleep. I know a lot of co-sleep moms talk about that. And I always thought it was just such crap, honestly. I was really judgy about it internally. I never judge anyone externally, but I was really judgy on the inside. And I was like, oh, wow, like you're just going to suffocate your baby. I read this one story about this girl with long hair who accidentally strangled her son in the middle of the night. And I was traumatized and I just couldn't unknow that information. And I was terrified to sleep with my kids. But I don't know. We found a way to make it work. It worked for us. And I don't know. Everything, like I said, I will say this till the day that I die. Everything changed with Charlie. My kids were textbook. We had routines. Everything was great. And everything became so much better, but so much more chaotic when Charlie was born. But I think it was really hard for me to do a routine with 3. I don't know why. Maybe the age gap, because my other 2 were so close in age. They were basically, and I think you guys have that going on too. They were basically like not the same person, but they eventually, yeah, totally. And so it just simplified everything, and it was easy to stay on that routine with 2. But with the age gap, Hannah is 5 years older than Charlie. And, do the math. Johnny is just shy of 2 years younger than that. So it's like 3 years, 5 years. I feel like I forgot half of the stuff about newborns and babies and sleep. I was like, oh my gosh, it's like I'm a first time mom again in a way. With all of like the old mom knowledge, it was like I was a new mom again. It was so weird. So I think a lot of that played a factor. I relied on the fact that I had already had 2 kids, so I didn't really like look anything up. I didn't really brush up on newborn sleep and all these other things. And then I just kind of was like, oh shoot, like there's a lot of stuff going on right now. And it was tough. I mean, Alyssa knows I was like, I'm dying because I didn't sleep for like the first year of Charlie's life, and I was a zombie, and I'm just such a different person now because I sleep now. But he sleeps through the night now and has for probably a good it was touch and go for the first couple of months. You know, he might wake up, he might not. It was very like, I definitely got way more sleep than I was with him in my room, but now he's officially consistently sleeps through the night. So it's wonderful. He also gets a consistent nap time almost every day, despite being a third child. He still gets naps.
You go, girl.
Yay. Good for him.
Love that for him.
I will say two things. One, the only time I've ever co-slept is like way on accident, but it's just because it stresses me out. Like, okay, if you want to co-sleep, if you think that is, just do it. You know, I think it's called like the safe sleep 7 or something. Like if you're going to do it, just do it the safe way. And my brain says there is no safe way, but you do you. And like, I don't get more sleep because that's how my brain is wired. So I just constantly wake up like, oh my God, is my baby alive? But on the note of like, how different babies like are harder and less, harder or easier. I think that a lot of it is, they develop habits. I know, Tori, we've like a little bit disagreed on this before, but I think we're actually on the same page. I just suck at explaining myself. So I'm going to try and do it better. But
I love you no matter what.
But babies, anyone, they create habits. Okay. Not that they're intentionally, swaying one way or the other, or they want this or they don't want this, or they want it for reasons, but they're just in habits. So when you take a baby that, say, for the first 6 months of their life, they were fed on demand. They woke up however much they wanted to at night, and they got milk every time. And then you take it and you flip it on them and you say, just kidding, you can't have that anymore. Then it's going to take longer for them to adjust to that. Not that they're intentionally saying, well, I'm waking up specifically because I want milk and I'm not going to go back to sleep until you give me what I want. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that they are having to essentially break habits that they've had their literal entire lives. So that's why I'm such a big advocate of starting, like Tori, like you said, like it felt different with Johnny. Like, well, you started it from the day you got home. That probably played a lot into it. Where it totally kind of all he knew. And so for my girls, for them, it started, the day they got home. And I've really, we've never had a sleep regression, literally never. We've had,
it's a good life to live.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
We've had sickness, but it wasn't a sleep
That's
regression.
not a regression though.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think like what you're saying and versus what I'm saying, I think my kids, the reason, I don't know how, I'm not having a hard time explaining this to you. I was like, oh, I know how to say this, but now I don't know how to say it. I think my kids have had different needs. I think, Hannah started sleeping through the night super early. Johnny slept through the night super early. And I just felt like Charlie didn't. And that was because he was a different kid. And I just felt like I was going to show up for all of that. Like, and I totally agree with you about the habits. So I don't want to say like, oh no, I fully disagree. No, I absolutely agree with you about that. People and babies and kids develop certain habits, and depending on those habits, they are harder to break. But I think for me with the transition, I didn't do much differently as far as the way I showed up for my kids. If anything, I probably showed up more for Charlie, but also not. I was given a little bit extra time because David took his full 12 weeks of paternity leave. So I was like, I had a little bit more freedom to just do newborn baby things with him than I did with the other two, like more just for a longer period of time. But I don't know, I guess for me, it felt like his needs were different. Like he just needed that extra stuff, or my other kids didn't need it. I don't know. Does that make any sense? I feel like there's half of the thought that came out of my head, and that's all that came out. But I don't know, it makes sense to me, but I'm not disagreeing with you. I guess I'm adding an anecdote of like, like, yes, but also I feel like kids have different needs sometimes.
Kids are not
and
unicorns, but
because
they are
of
different.
yes, because of, and I think it boils down to temperament. You know, some kids are just needier than others, and that's not anything that you're doing wrong or different or badly as a mom. Like, some kids just wake up a million times a night, and like, just temperament. That's just they are who they are.
That's good. I know we could go on and on about sleep for forever and a day because there's so many
really
other
could.
things.
Literally.
I know, because like I'm thinking about, like, we were talking about cooking, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so much stuff I could say about that. I have so much stuff I could say about the regressions. I have so much stuff to say about, like, but we are at that point where we need to share our Momtroversial moments, the moments that make you laugh, cry, and just go, yep, that's mom life. So I want to start and share a Momtroversial moment and have Alyssa take the lead this week on what has made you laugh, cry, or just say, yep, that's mom life with the girls.
So last night, my sister Yvonne came over and babysat so we could go on a date. It was great. And we came home, and the stories that she had about Reagan when we got home, I mean, just like, not bad, but this girl is a gaslighter, okay? She is. You know, she is fully in her era of, oh, no, my mommy said I could. And Yvonne's looking at her like, I know my sister. And like, she did not say you could do that. Or, you know, they were eating olives, okay? They were just eating olives with dinner. And Reagan goes, my mommy and I love olives. And Yvonne's like, Alyssa doesn't like olives. No, my mommy loves olives. She's like, no, she doesn't. So I got home and she was like, do you like olives? I was like, no. How do you not know that? She was like, because Reagan made me believe that you liked olives. So Reagan's a gaslighter. It's fine.
She's a three-nager. We love her.
It's so funny. What about you, Tori? What's your Momtroversial moment?
So I feel like I have a couple this week. So not only did my daughter get married this week, but I also became a grandmother.
I hosted.
Yeah. So a little backstory. The school that Hannah, Johnny still goes to, the Korean school. Hannah still has friends from that school. And so she's talked about Braun so many times, like, and I've seen them in pictures together, like, because the teachers send us pictures every week of like the stuff that they're doing. And so Braun, I'm gonna marry Braun. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, you know. Sure you are. That's great for you. You know, I don't like put too much, I don't entertain it. I don't shut it down like, no, you're not, blah, blah, blah. But I don't really entertain it beyond like, okay, sounds good for you type of thing. But she just would not stop talking about it in the last couple of weeks. And it turns out Braun lives right across the street from Leeah. And Hannah found this out and was like, oh my gosh, I have to go to Leah's house and marry Braun. And so, you know, Leah reaches out to Paige, Braun's mom, and tells her about this. And so she tells Braun, and they totally were just like so jazzed to see each other. And it was so sweet. Like, Leah told me that Braun was in like his play clothes and he saw Hannah show up and he went inside and got his little suit on so that they could get married. Hannah wore her like wedding dress over to Leah's. And Hannah told me that they got married in Braun's bedroom with his brothers. I was not in attendance. I wasn't invited. So I know nobody was invited. Parents were not invited. I mean, I'm sure Paige was there, obviously, but she's just like, yeah, I'm married now. And she's tried to use it as an excuse why she can do stuff. She's like, Mom, I can do that because I'm married now. I'm like, okay, hold on. No. You can pretend to be married to Braun if you want to, but that doesn't give you special privileges. I was like, sorry, no. And then the second thing I said, I became a grandmother this week. So Hannah is all about that mom life. She's a mini mom. She's got so many baby dolls. Love you, Alyssa. And She is constantly mothering. I mean, I've got countless pictures of her baby wearing, pushing her dolls in the stroller. She's like, Mom, be quiet. My babies are sleeping. She's like, oh, hold on. I can't go to bed yet. I have to put my kids to bed. I mean, this is my daughter. Okay. She is a miniature mom. She's going to be the most wonderful, amazing mother one day. I just can't wait. But she was, shushing her baby to sleep. And I'm in her room, like trying to put her to bed. And she's like, here, she's talking to her baby doll. She goes, here you go to grandma. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I am not grandma. That is just, that's gross. I'm not going to be grandma. She's like, well, what do you want to be called? I was like, I don't know, something cute like Nana. And she's like, here you go to Nana. Nana will hold you. So I became
can't
Nana.
with this girl.
I know. And I thought that was the end of it until the next day. She's like, oh, she has so many babies. She's like, baby Grace wants Nana. Baby Grace wants Nana to hold her. And I was just like, oh, this stuck? Oh my goodness. So my daughter's married, has multiple children. I am Nana. That is my Momtroversial moments of this week. It's been a big week. I'm living my, I know. I'm a mother-in-law and a Nana.
That was so funny. I still can't believe, like, when I made that connection when we were sitting at your house and she said somebody, her boyfriend from her school, and I figured out and put two and two together that she went to the same school that Braun goes to. And I know that Braun, so that's what in my head, I was like, Braun went to that school and Braun's done going there now because he aged out. What are the odds? And then when I asked her, and she said, Braun, I said, Braun who? I was like, he lives across the street from me. That was so funny.
Well, and the fact that Braun is equally obsessed with Hannah as Hannah is with him is actually what blew my mind the most. Because I'm like, they haven't seen each other since like the end of April. And you know how kid brains are. They just forget about people, and that because they're not, object permanence. It's a thing, but it's also not like a super strong thing at this age. Yeah. And so it's like, but Paige had said that Braun had just made a Lego of Hannah the night before. And that was so sweet to me. I was just like, that's so sweet. I just love that. And, obviously this is all a joke. We're not like promoting kid marriage. And, for anyone listening, this is just a freaking joke. Okay. But like obviously they have these cute little crushes on each other and they just are such cute little friends, and I just love that. I love it so much.
I love that too. I think for us, man, for mine it's just been a bunch of little moments, but Declan has just been growing so much, and it's been mind-boggling how he keeps becoming his own person. And he is a toddler, but he acts like he's a full-on child sometimes. And he's been really helpful lately, and it kills me. I was unloading packages from the car the other day, and I'm notorious. Anyone who knows me or has talked to me, or if you talk to my husband, I take too much in my hands to get into the car every time I leave the house. So when we get home, I always have to take multiple trips coming back in because I can never take as much into the car as I can take out in that one trip. And I was unloading everything. We had picked up packages, and I was just lazy and put the packages on the porch. I didn't bring them inside. And Declan woke up the next morning, and I had left the packages on the porch. And he said, oh no, Mommy, packages are outside. And I said, oh, I must have forgotten that out there. He said, it's okay, I go get it. And then he went and he opened our little sliding door and he walked himself out. And they were like decently sized Amazon boxes because of Travis's birthday and presents. And he picked up, he said, here's one package, two package. And he like went outside and he brought it in. He went outside, he brought it, and he picked up the biggest one. He said, oh, that's a really big one. and he was like struggling trying to like turn it to get it in the sliding door. And I said, "Do you need help with that?" And he said, "No, Decky got it." And then sure enough, he got it and he brought it in. And he said, "Here, mommy, can we open up?" And that's like the one moment I think of where I was just so impressed at the fact that he went and he picked up those packages and he brought all 3 of them in. He knew which boxes they were and he knew what they were, and he brought them in and just wanted to be helpful. And his thing is he'll mean to say thank you, and he'll say you're welcome, and he'll mean to say you're welcome and says thank you. And so
Oh my gosh.
I said, "Thank you so much for bringing those in for me, Decky. That was such a good helper." And that just makes mommy's heart happy. And he said, "Thank you, mommy. Thank you." Or I'll say, what was it? He'll be trying to say thank you to me, and he'll say you're welcome. But I know he means thank you, and it just makes me giggle. So
You're
that was
welcome, mommy.
it
so
cracks
cute.
me up. I love that kid.
The toddlerisms are my favorite, and I love watching kids come into like their own little personalities, just
Yes.
and feeling so proud to help. And
Yes.
you know, I don't know, for me, maybe some people would be like, "Oh, it's just a little thing," but like for me, that would be a big deal. Like, "Oh, you carried packages in for me?" Like, "Oh my god, like thank you so much." It just
Yes.
it's such a nice gesture. Like it's such a nice thing to do at any age. And so like his cute little baby self doing it, I
Without
love
even
that.
being asked. That's what makes my
Yes.
heart happy, is I didn't even ask. It was instinct. It was an instinctual response of
Yeah.
saw them. I said, "Oh, mommy must not have done it, or mommy must have forgot." And his response was, "Oh, I'll help you." Oh,
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I hope, I know we won't be like this forever, but I'm hoping that maybe I'm doing something right to where his first instinct is to help without
100%.
having. So stay tuned, but I love watching it. I definitely pivoted a lot as a mom from when he was a baby to now with Ella, where I was just telling Travis this today. I just so enjoy now just watching them. I so enjoy just sitting and watching my kids do their thing and just be their own people and grow and develop,
Yeah.
versus when Declan was little, I would have thought it was so boring and
Mm-hmm.
was just trying to fill our time. But now my favorite thing to do is to just sit back and just sit there and watch them and see what they
Little
do
people
or what they're going
watch.
to come up with. Yeah. Little people watch is the
Yeah.
best. Like big people watching is little people watching is so, because you can literally see the wheels turning in their brain
Yes.
as they're processing and figuring out things to do in a way
I
that
love that.
I don't think we can see in adults, or we lose the magic that kids have.
Well, and I
So.
think to just reply to something you said about like putting the work in now, I feel like you're going to see all the fruits of your labor like when your kid turns about like 12 or 13. I mean, you'll see it throughout, but I think at like when adolescence begins is where there's such a huge shift there in development, and like their friends become more important, and like they need this autonomy and freedom in order to further grow and develop. And so everything you put into them up until that point is crucial. I remember when I learned that in one of my classes I took, I took it so personally because I was like, oh my gosh, literally every moment right now matters. And, of course, that's not to say moments can't be healed and like they can't be, you can't repair things that you've maybe done wrong or done something you didn't love. Because everything, it can always be repaired 100%. But I think everything being so intentional now cuts down on so many issues later. Showing your kids how to build like this moral compass, like everything that you teach and put into them now is going to be their foundation for when they start their adolescence and beyond. And I think, it's so difficult to see that sometimes in these little years, because it just, the very common saying, like, the days are long and the years are short. Like, that's so accurate. But the days so matter. These little moments, the way you handle the conflict, the way you let them explore, the autonomy you give them, and their development every little piece of the way, like, is just so crucial. And so, yes, it will. You are absolutely doing the best, and you're gonna see it. He's gonna be a good human.
You're the most validating. You're so good at validating. I just love you.
Thank you. I love you too.
I think I was thinking this for all of our listeners, as we've talked about some sleep stuff, and as hard as it is, you are the best as well. And you're doing great. And you are, if you're a mom already, you're a great mother. If you're not a mom yet, you're a great friend. You're a great spouse. You're a great person. And you're doing a great job. And I think it's important for us to uplift and validate each other and just allow others to, to be seen, because when you feel validated and you feel uplifted, it empowers you to go forth and to keep doing the hard and showing up day in and day out. So
absolutely.
We've loved unpacking the wild unspoken sides of parenting with you guys today, especially when it comes to sleep. If you have a mom hack or secret that somebody told you or shared with you that you want us to share with others, if you have topics you would like to hear discussed here at Momtroversial, hit us up on Instagram at Momtroversial Podcast. And until then, the next time, stay real, stay curious, and join us next week for some more bold mom talk.
Bye.